Hey guys, Joshua Skywriter here. Today I'm going to be briefly talking about 7 science fiction writers who influenced me. These are 7 writers who I think everyone should read, and I really think their work is wonderful, and they've been a wellspring of inspiration and have taught me a lot about writing just through reading their works. So I'm just going to go into it. I'm going to be brief, mainly because I often speak about these writers, and I'll be covering some of them in future videos. So first up, we're going to be talking about a writer named Philip K. Dick. Philip K. Dick, this is his book, Time Out of Joint. He's also written Now Wait for the Last Year, which is another really great novel that I just read, and The Man Who Japed, The Game Players of Titan, The Penultimate Truth. I mean, the list just goes on and on. He's written over 50 novels, hundreds of short stories, and his works have been adapted into Blade Runner, Total Recall, Minority Report, Scanner Darkly, and he's just an incredible author who changes your perception of reality through reading him. His ideas are mind-bending. It makes you think differently, and there's something highly addictive about reading his works. I recently picked up 20 of his novels. I got a really good deal on it. I mean, I have more than that, but I recently just bought 20, and I've been just tearing through them, and it's been a pleasure. So I'll be doing book reviews on PKD works as my channel grows. So if you're a fan of his works or curious more about Philip K. Dick, please keep watching, and I will have those videos up. Okay, next up on the list is Isaac Asimov. Isaac Asimov is the writer of the Foundation trilogy, which many consider to be the greatest work of science fiction. This and Dune by Frank Herbert are considered the greatest science fiction works of all time. Another book that he wrote that's really wonderful is The Caves of Steel. Isaac Asimov was a genius like none other. He wrote over 500 books. He'd have typewriters around his house where he'd be writing a book. If he got bored, he'd just go to another typewriter. He was just an incredible mind. All of his books are worth reading. He explains the most complex ideas so simply, and for anyone of nearly any intelligence could grasp just at a glance. So I would say read his works. They are an absolute pleasure. Another writer that I really love, and some people are going to think I'm a Kool-Aid sipper, but I really, really, really love Stan Lee. Stan Lee, who co-created with Jack Kirby many characters such as the Avengers, X-Men, the Hulk, Thor, most of the Marvel, or a lot of the Marvel canon comes from Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Now, I also want to credit Jack Kirby as a writer, and they're a duo, because Jack Kirby, though he was an artist, really created a lot of the ideas that Stan riffed on. But I just love his sense of optimism and his sense of just a kind of an American can-do attitude mixed with science fiction and morality and the parables that they told. And it was just really incredible. And I don't know if, a lot of storytelling today is so dark, but their storytelling was very optimistic and had positive messages and could be very thoughtful and have pathos and had great characterization. This is another one that that actually Stan Lee wrote and the French artist Moebius drew, called Parable. This is a Silver Surfer tale. It is a wonderful story. If you like Silver Surfer, that a lot of people don't know about, it is signed. But it's just really great. So I would say if you have interest in comic books and you love comic books movies, but you just seems kind of intimidating, you don't know how to get into it, I would say check out the works of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Marvel Essentials are great. Marvel Masterworks are great. And it can get you into it in a very accessible ways. The next author I'm going to be talking about is Harlan Ellison. I love Harlan Ellison. His works are amazing. This is Shatterday. This is Stalking the Nightmare. He's written over 50 novels. He is a cantankerous son of a bitch, and he's hilarious, and he's a genius, and he fights for writers' rights. He's fought for civil rights. He is, I think, an incredible human being, and all of his work is worth reading. Even the bad stuff that he would want to burn, I think, is worth reading. I mean, Harlan Ellison, like no other author I've ever read, is able to get into the heartmeat. I mean, just really move the reader emotionally, and his concepts are mind-bending. His characterization, again, is great. But what he does best is really talk about what's most embarrassing, or what's most funny, what's most honest. He has raw honesty that's jaw-dropping, when you read his work. And when you read him, he's the kind of author that when you read him, you're like, I didn't know writing could be that good. Wow, that's intimidating. And he's the kind of writer that you read and you will become a better writer. I collect Harlan Ellison books as well, and I just think he's just one of my favorites. I really highly suggest anyone who's into writing, into reading, who just wants something good to pick up his work. He also wrote for film and TV. He wrote what's considered the greatest episode of Star Trek. His works were also adapted into the Terminator franchise. So check him out. The last author on my list is... Actually, sorry, I messed up a little bit. I have two more. One is J.G. Ballard. J.G. Ballard is a writer from the science fiction new wave from the 60s. Most of these guys are. J.G. Ballard wrote Crash. He wrote High Rise, which is currently being adapted into a movie. His short story collections, The Complete Stories of J.G. Ballard, is a great place to start. He's one of the most modern writing styles I've ever read. I've never read anyone who could describe technology or modern life or architecture like him. It's almost like his writing really is a genre of itself. I don't know if it's even fair to call it speculative fiction or science fiction. His works can be kind of hard to find, but they are absolutely worth it, and I think this is a great place to start out, is The Complete Short Stories of J.G. Ballard. Okay, the last writer on my list is the creator of The Twilight Zone. It's none other than Rod Serling. This is a book called Patterns, which is his teleplays. There's a collection that's hard to find from Gauntlet Press called As Timeless as Infinity, which are compilation hardbound books of his scripts, and they do about 10 episodes each, and they're really great. If you're into TV writing, I think they're certainly worth reading, especially if you're into science fiction TV writing. What Rod Serling did was not him and Stan Lee, to me, were really amazing at telling moral stories, moral parables, in the context of the allegory of science, the allegorical world of science fiction. Now, Rod Serling, he got a lot of flack from a lot of pulp writers because the pulp writers would get paid very little, and Rod Serling would make a lot of money from adapting their works. But what I really credit Rod Serling for doing is packaging science fiction in such a way that made it very accessible for audiences before. Another little thing about Rod Serling is that he actually he adapted the script Planet of the Apes with, I believe, another writer, but he did, I believe, most of the heavy lifting, if I remember correctly. So, which would explain the ending of the first Planet of the Apes movie. That being said, Rod Serling's really great. So, if you really love science fiction, if you want to read things that I think personally that will make you a better writer, or just think more clearly, or think differently about the world, I would say check out these authors. I also want to note that the majority of them happen to be from the 60s new wave. Why is that? I don't know. They just are, and I think they're really great. So thanks so much for watching, and if you like this video, please share it, click like or comment, and I'll be having future videos very soon. Alright guys, have a great day.